Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome to our next lecture. Today we will see that how can we use the Bayesian decision theory and the relevant probabilistic rules to find out associations among the items. What do the association means? It means that if one item is chosen, what is the probability that some other item would be chosen from a given set of items? Usually we can consider it, we can understand it better using the example of shopping basket that we will see in this lecture. However, it's not limited to the shopping basket. It is a general rule that we can use for building the expert systems or the recommender systems by looking at the available data. So the concept that we will learn today will tell us that how a recommender system could be built, and you must be capable enough to build such a small program using the language of your choice. Now we start our lecture. Association rule mining, what is that? Frequent patterns. What are frequent patterns? There are patterns that appear frequently in a given data set. Any kind of specific information that gives us an insight into the data set is called a pattern. For example, we may have the shopping patterns, we may have the course selection patterns. In other words, just for an example, for the girls, they have the specific patterns when they go for the shopping of clothes, and similarly for the boys, the patterns are different when they go for their shopping. There are different substructures of frequent patterns, frequent sequential patterns, subgraphs, or subtrees. So we can represent or we can draw the patterns in different forms. Frequent patterns are also known as frequent structured patterns, another name for the frequent patterns. Now we look at an example and the relevant theory, and then we will see that how the calculations could be done on that. Market basket analysis. The analysis can lead to the increased sales by helping retailers do selective marketing and plan their shelf space. How is that? Let there is an analyst. It's you who is just thinking, who is trying to find out which items are frequently purchased together by customers. Let this person or you look at the shopping pattern of customer 1 where he buys milk, bread and cereal. Another customer that buys milk, bread, sugar, eggs. Similarly, the third customer that purchases milk, bread and butter. And then customer N which purchases sugar and eggs. So we want to find out that if a customer buys item number 1, what is the probability that she would buy item 2 or item 3 or both item 2 or item 3, right? This is called the market basket analysis, finding this kind of pattern. And it helps that, let's say that we say a customer when purchases X1 and X2, he also purchases X3. If we could find out a rule of this type, we would better be able to place item X1, X2 and X3 on the same or side by side shelves so that the customer should not vary around in our superstore to search for the items placed at different places. And when items of interest are placed together, there is more chance for a customer to have more shopping. And even X3 is, if not needed, there may be the chance that when a customer is buying X1 and X2, by looking at item X3, he would also buy it, right? So this point tells this story. Each item is a Boolean variable. If we have multiple items, they are the shopping basket items, or they are the videos, or they are the books, or they are the clothes, or they are the food items, whatever. So they could have Boolean values. For example, the item is either available or not available. either present or not present. Association rules. Association rule defines the relationship between the two things X and Y, where X could be a set of items consisting of one or more items, and similarly Y could be a set of items consisting of one or more items. Example, the basket analysis that we have seen in the previous slide. In learning association rules, three measures are frequently calculated. What are those? First one is called the support of the association rule. X implies Y. Second is the confidence of the association rule. X implies Y. And third is the lift, also known as interest of the association rule. X implies Y. And these three calculations could be done using these equations. For example, support of X, Y could be find out the probability of X and Y, the giant probability of X, Y, which is equal to number of customers who bought X and Y divided by the total number of customers. Similarly, confidence X implies Y, that could be given as the conditional probability, that probability of Y given X. If we have X, what is the probability that there would be Y? This is given by this formula which we have already seen in our previous lectures, the joint probability divided by the marginal probability, which is given as this: the customers who bought X and Y and customers who bought Y. And then the third formula could be written as this: lift X implies Y. It could be given as the giant probability divided by the individual probabilities of both X and Y, right? And if we replace or put the value of this probability of X and Y from this formula, so we can simplify our formula like this. As an exercise, you must try to transform this formula into this using your paper pencil. Okay, basket analysis example. Let we suppose that we have a set I which consists of number of items I1, I2 up to In. So we have 3 items, 4 items, 5 items or n items that we may have present in our superstore. And let D is a set that consists the number of transactions, and each transactions represent a customer. If a customer comes 2 times, we can count that customer as 2 customers. So T1, transaction 1, customer 1 comes and buys, customer T2, customer 2 comes and buys, and similarly we have Tn. Be the set of transactions made by customers of type Ti, right? And here we write it like this: customer I comes, our transaction I, this is a transaction I, and the number of items that he or she has purchased, where T is a subset of I. Of course, if in a superstore there are 100 items available, the customer may buy 1 or 2 items, or at maximum he would be buying the 100 items, right? So this relationship is very clear from this discussion. An association rule can be described as how A implies B, such that if customer has purchased an item A or set of items A, what is the probability that she would purchase a set of items B, such that A is a subset of I. Of course, I is a set of items which are present in whole superstore. So a customer would never be buying all of the superstore at a time. And B is subset of I. Of course, customer is not buying the complete superstore. And A is not equal to empty set. If customer is going to buy 1 or 2 or 3 items, so the cardinality of A would never be 0, right? And if the cardinality of A is 0, it means that customer is not buying anything. However, in contrast, we suppose that customer is buying A. So if he is buying A, means he is buying something. and B is not empty. Of course, if we are going to find an association between two or more items, then B would never be an empty set. We cannot find an association of a set with nothing. So it would be non-empty, and A intersection would A intersection B, that would be empty set. It's very interesting that if a customer has bought item 1 and item 2, we would be trying to find the relationship of it with item 3 and item 4. We would never try to find this kind of step, that what is the probability that customer has found item 1 and what is the probability he would purchase item 2 and item 1. This would be a kind of invalid question. Support S. For a transaction set D, S is the percentage of transactions in D that contains A union B, which is given by this formula. Right? And this is the same formula that we have seen in the previous slide. Confidence C. For a transaction set D, C is the percentage of transactions in D containing A that also contains B, and given by this formula. A good exercise would be for you people to try to understand that how a description could be converted into a formula. For example, the description of confidence is converted into this formula, and how the vice versa a formula could be described in textual form. Do this for these formulas yourself. Write the formula on your paper and pencil and try to describe it in the language, and then write the description and try to make the formula from it. Example, market basket analysis, strong rules. Some definitions we have to see over here. What are the strong rules? Rules that satisfy a minimum support threshold, this which is defined by the user, we, the analyst, and the minimum confidence threshold, this. So if a rule is satisfying these two criteria, it means that it is a strong rule. Item set, a set of items, all the items which are present in our superstore. K item set, an item set which consists of K items. For example, K means 3, so the sets which contains 3 elements in them. Then there is frequency, the time an item set occurs in transaction set, right? And we will look at an example. Every time a customer comes, he purchases something, so all that he purchases becomes a transaction set, also known as support count or count of the item set. Then there are two kinds of this support, absolute support and relative support. Absolute support, item set occurring frequency that we count in the data set, in the database, and the relative support is found using this formula. So you must be aware of this fact, the difference between the two. Frequency item set. An item set is frequent, so this is a frequent item set basically. An item set is frequent item set if support A given B is equal to probability A union B, and it must be greater than the minimum threshold. Okay. Confidence, that is given by this formula which we have seen in the previous slide. Probability of B given A, we have A item set, and what is the probability of having B item set, that is given by the support A union B divided by support A, and actually this is support count, and we will be using this formula later on in our example. The problem of mining association rules can be reduced to that of mining frequent item sets or frequent patterns. It means that if we could find out the frequent patterns, it would be easy for us to find out the association rules that we use in our recommender systems. Finding association rule is two-step process. Find all frequent item sets and generate association rules using frequent item sets. So you have to now memorize these two steps. Number one, find all frequent item sets, and then Using those frequent item sets, you have to generate the association rules. Count the number of item sets is given by this formula, right? So the item sets could be found, how many item sets would be generated, we can use this formula to find out that. And the processing all item sets takes time and processing power, right? For example, if we have 100 elements in our superstore, the number of item sets would be 2 raised power 100, because every item set could contain a value either 0 or 1, mean either that item is present or not present. So in that case, this much total number of item sets could be generated, that which is a big number, and processing all the item sets becomes very time consuming and resource consuming as well. That's why we need to find out a mechanism to prune the item sets, to filter out unimportant item sets and keep only those which can play a good role in our information extraction. Let me look at few more definitions. Closed item set. An item set X is closed in a data set D if there exists no proper super item set Y such that Y has the same support count as X in D. What does that mean? It means that there is no larger set Y in D than X with same support. X is the maximum item set, maximum size item set, and there exists no Y such that X is smaller than Y. So Y would not uh, be present in that case. So X is the maximum number, maximum set that contains the maximum number of item sets. Closed frequent item set. Now, if an item set is closed and frequent, it is called a closed frequent item set. What do we mean by the frequent, and what is the frequency? We will define it later on, right? For example, we define that the minimum number of occurrence of some data set is 2. So any closed item set having the frequency 2 or greater than 2 is called closed frequent item set. Maximal frequent item set, if X is frequent and is maximum, it is called maximal frequent item set. Now we look at an example. Closed and frequent item sets. What are those? The definitions that we have seen in the previous slides are now explained over here. That we have a data set D that consists of two subsets. One is A1, A2 up to A100, and other is A1, A2 up to A50. Then we have two subsets or two transactions, you can say that C1 and C2 consisting of these two, and the minimum support that we want is equal to 1. Mean that we will keep, for example, we can say that this is a transaction 1, a purchase made by our customer 1, and this is transaction 2, a purchase made by a customer 2. Minimum support mean we will see it later. However, first we have to see the frequency. How many times a set has occurred in our transactions? This set has occurred one time. It means that there is only one customer who purchased 100 items. And if we look at this set, it has the frequency 2. Customer 1 has purchased items 1 to 50, and customer 2 also has purchased items 1 to 50. So it has the frequency 2 given over here, right? The minimum support that we have defined is 1, and we will keep all those sets which satisfy this minimum support. That's why we will keep both C1 and C2. But if we define the minimum support as 2, in that case we will prune out, we will filter out this set, and we will keep only the second set which fulfills our requirement. Maximal frequent item set. In our this case, particular case, A1, A2 up to A100 is the maximal frequent item set. How maximal? Because it's the maximum size set, other is smaller than it. And frequent, this comes from this definition. We have defined the minimum support 1 and it satisfies the minimal support, so it's a frequent item set, and being maximum, it is a maximal frequent item set. Hope this definition is clear to you by this example. The set of closed frequent item sets contains complete information regarding the frequent item sets. What is that information? That is A1 is equal to A2, A45. Now we are getting these two elements, A2 and A45, which is a subset of C2, right? Of course, it is a subset of C2. This set contains the same frequency which is of C2. So a frequency of superset is also a frequency of subsets. And if we look at this set A2 and A60, it does not lie in this set, but it lies in this set. So the frequency of this set 1 is the frequency of this subset. Again, the rule is same. The frequency of the superset is the frequency of its subset. A priori algorithm that is used to find the frequent item sets, and then using those frequent item sets we will find the association rules. The algorithm uses prior knowledge of frequent item set properties, hence its name comes. A priori means it uses some prior knowledge which is taken from the data set or the database. It uses a level-wise search, which is an iterative approach to explore k+1 item sets using k item sets. First it will find the item sets which consist of, for example, 1 elements. Then it will construct the item set which would consist of 2 elements. Then the item sets consisting of 3 elements. Then the item set consisting of 4 elements, and so on. If you have studied the algorithm, it is using the strong induction process. Let Lk is the set of frequent k item sets. First, by scanning database, L1, level 1 is found, then level 2, and in this way level k. In level 1 there would be the item sets consisting of single items, whereas in level 2, L2, there would be the item sets consisting of 2 items, and similarly Lk would be a set which would comprised of the item sets consisting of k items. A prior property. All non-empty subsets of a frequent item subset must also be frequent. This is the same which we have seen in the previous slide, that if a superset is maximal and frequent, then all its subsets would be maximal and frequent. The same is described here. If I1 is not frequent item set, then I1 union any other item, it would make an item set I2 which is again also not frequent, which is stated like this: cannot be more frequent than I1. Anti-monotonicity. If a set cannot pass a test, all of its supersets will fail at the same test, which means this. Right? So try to understand, it's the one definition written in 3 different ways. You must be able to understand it. Now we look at the level-wise search, right? First step is called the join step, and other is called the prune step, right? And before that, before this step, we will be getting the frequencies of item. Join step, what does it do? A prior A priori algorithm assumes that items within a transaction or item sets are sorted in lexicographical order. Right? Sorting is required in order to make the processing fast. Let I1 and I2 be item sets in Lk-1, the set which is produced in level k-1. The join algorithm Lk-1, Lk-1 is performed where members of Lk-1 are joinable if their first k-2 items are in common. Right? Only in that way it would be joinable. If the definition is not clear, you will get it clear by looking at the example later on. I1, I2 belongs to this K are joined. They are joined only if for all I = 1 to K-1, I1 of ith element from I1 transaction is equal to I2 element, ith element of I2. Right? Again, if it is not clear, you will get it clear in the coming slides. The prune step. Ck is a superset of Lk. Right? All of the frequent K item sets are included in it. And any k-1 item sets that is not frequent cannot be subset of the frequent item sets. Right? I leave these 2 points for you people to understand, which are going to be explained in the coming slides. So when you understand from those next slides, come back and try to understand these 2 steps again, how prune is working and how the join is performing. Let me look at this database example, a solid example. Let absolute minimum support that we want in our data set, this is being defined by us as an expert. So that is 2, and the relative minimum support is given by 2 by 9, that is 22%. And 9 is taken from the total number of transactions, which we have this 9 transactions, and the 2 is the minimal support that we have defined. 2 by 9 means 22%. So any transaction that is at least 22% share of our database, that would be included in our rule extraction, in our association mining and rule determination. And all other transactions which have lower support than the minimal support are ignored. Now we look at the algorithm. Step 1, scan all database to find level 1 item sets. Right? Count the occurrences of the each item to find C1. Here you can see that this step is worked out. We have these transactions, 9 transactions. I1 is occurring how many times? I1 here, 1, this one, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. It means I1 occurs 6 times, so 6 is written over here. Similarly, we look at I2. I2 occurs here 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. So I2 is given here 7. Similarly, we have found I3, I4 and I5. Right? Step 2. Next step is pruning step. We see that all items have the frequency either 2 or greater than 2, and the minimal frequency that we want to keep is 2. So all the items in our item set have frequency greater than or equal to the minimal support, mean all qualify, and we will keep them. We will not filter out any item. Step 2 is clear. Step 3, use join L1 L1. Right? So this is our L1 set. So we will make a cross product of it with itself to generate a candidate set of 2 item sets to get C2. And C2 will consist of this number of elements. The number of elements in level 1 divided by number of elements in level 1 minus 2 because we are making the groups of 2 factorial into 2 factorial. Each candidate set is frequent, so no pruning would be required over there. How that is frequent, we look at the next slide. Let me see over here. We are going to find the cross product of L1 with L1. So you can see that the L1 consists of I1, I2, I3 up to I5 items. L1 cross L1 would be I1, 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 I2, I1, I3, I1, I4, I1, I5. Similarly for I2, for I3, for I4, for I5, right? So this is the set that we generate. Here you can see that I1, I1, basically this is a set, and set contains each element in its distinct form distinctly. So we will put only I1 one time, not 2 times. And a set containing one element would not be part of our set because it contains only one element, and we are going to find the sets which contain 2 elements. So we can drop it. I1 and I2, we will keep it, we will keep this, keep this, keep this. This would not be kept because this set and this set is same, right? The set contains 2 elements I1 and I2. This contains 2 elements I1 and I2, so we will filter it out. Using this argument for this subset, we will also filter this out, and we will keep rest of the subsets. Similarly, we will not keep this because it has already been taken, I1, I3. We will not keep this, it is already taken. We will not keep, it is already taken. We will keep these 2 subsets. Similarly, we will eliminate these, this, right, and we will keep only this. And in the same way, we will eliminate all of these. Okay, so after filtering out the unwanted tuples, we are left with these only, right, which I have written over here: I1, I2, I1, I3, I1, I4, I1, I5, and I2, I3, I2, I4, I2, I5, and so on. So this is our cross product L1 cross L2. L1, sorry, it is not L2, it's L1, L1, L2. Okay, so this we have the item set, and now we look at for these item sets in this transaction set in our database and find the frequency of them. For example, for this first one, I1 and I2, I see here I1 and I2 occurs, and this is first occurrence of I1 and I2, and this is the second occurrence of I1 and I2. This is the third occurrence of I1 and I2, and this is the fourth occurrence of I1 and I2. So the frequency of I1 and I2 is 4. Similarly, for I1, I3, I have this 1, 2, 3, and 4. It again has the 4 frequency, it is 1, 4. And I1, I4 is given over here only. There is no occurrence of I1 and I4. So it's taken as 1. Using same practice, I will find the frequency of all sets, and this is known as C2. Now I know that the minimal support is 2, and we will keep only the records which have minimal support. So we will have this, we will keep this, we will not keep this because it has the support 1 and we want minimal support 2. We will keep this, we will keep this, we will keep this, we will keep this, and rest are not kept. They are filtered out, right? And this forms our level 2 set, L2. Right? If you understood this process, we will be doing the same process, we will be repeating the same process again and again, and I will give you the final results. You know that how the inner results are and how the inner steps are working. Step 4. The transaction in D2D are scanned and the support count of each candidate item set in C2 is accumulated, that we have done in previous slide. Step 5. The set of frequent 2 item sets L2 is determined. consisting of those candidate items in C2 having minimum sport. Again, we have done this step. Step 6. Now we start repeating. Generation of set of candidate of 3 items. Right? Now we will use this L2 cross L2. We will find this. And this would give us these 5 sets where L1, I1, I2, I3, I1, I2, I5 has the required minimal sport, and these red subsets don't have the minimal required sport. So we will keep only those which satisfy the minimum sport, which is 2. Step 6, right? Again, you can see that we are performing this step 6 here in this slide. We have expanded. This is our L2 and this is again L2, right? We find here the cross product, and after doing all this and previous steps, finding their frequency and filtering out the item sets, we are left with only these 3, these 5 items, and out of these 5 items we will be keeping only 2. Here you can see A1, it has the minimum sport, right? All subsets are member of L2, it has the sport. These two don't have the sport, they have the frequency less than 2, so they are filtered out and these two are kept. Step 7, the transactions in D are scanned to determine L3 set 3, which becomes this. Out of these, keep only those which have minimum sport. So these have minimum sport and rest of the item sets don't have the minimal sport, so we filter out them. Step 8, then we will find the next L3 cross L3, right? The item sets of 4, and there is no fourth item set which generates 4 items fulfilling or satisfying the condition that we have maintained for it. Mean minimum sport should be greater than or equal to 2. As an exercise, you must do it yourself. You must find L1, L2, L3, and even if algorithm goes on, you will find L4 and so on. In our this particular case, C4 is empty set and the algorithm terminates. Here is the description given. You can see that previously we have calculated these C1, and from this C1 we find L1 after filtering out. Then here we see we formulate C2, which is L1 cross L2, L1, right? This is L1 cross L1. So we generate this, we filter out and find this set, and then C3, this we generate this, right? And we find this L3, and the next is the empty set, so we stop our iteration over here. You must be capable to understand this algorithm now, and you must be able to implement this algorithm in a language of your choice. Remember that you may either be asked to write the algorithm or you may be required to program it into a language of your choice. Finding association rules. Now we have found the sets L1, L2, L3. So how the association rules are found? Remember here that we have found these 2 sets. Okay, so in previous slide we have seen that our frequent item sets are these 2 sets, right? I1, I2, I3, I1, I2, I5. Now we only consider, for example, this second set and try to see that how we can determine the rules, association rules, using this frequent item set. And similarly, we will also generate the association rules for A1, but I have only worked out this second one, right? This I1, I2, I5, it could be written in the form of subsets like this: I1, I2, I5, I1, I2, I1, I5, I2, I5, and I1, I2, I5. So, right, we have these sets. So we find the sport, right? Sport AB, that is given by probability of A, B joint probability, which we have already seen in the first few slides of this lecture. Number of transactions containing both A and B and total number of transactions, right? And confidence here as well. We worked out here only confidence. You can also find out the support. How the confidence is found. The rule is, if we have I1, what is the probability that the customer, if customer has purchased I1, what is the probability that he would purchase I2 and I5? And for this we are using the prior knowledge which is taken from the database, and it is given by 2 by 6. How that is 2 by 6? We have I1. See here, we have I1, we have I1, we have I1, we have I1, I1, I1. So in how many transactions do we have I1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And in how many transactions of these 6 transactions there is I2 and I5? So here is I2 and I5, and here I2 is I5. So it's 2 by 6, which is this. Similarly, we work for I2. So in how many transactions I2 exists? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So I2 occurs in 7 transactions. And in how many transactions where in these 7 transactions I1 and I5 exist? So this is 1 and this is 2. No other transaction is there. So it would be 2 divided by 7, which is this. And it comes up 29%. In this way we will find the confidence. Right? We have already used the support and now we are working with the confidence. And similarly, we will work out for all other subsets. Once we found the association rules from here, we will find the association rule for this as well. Right? And now, when if someone tells that user has purchased item, for example, I5, what is the probability that what are the associated items that he would purchase? So we have this I5, we can tell that he would be purchasing item I1 and I2. And if somebody tells us that a person has shopped I1 and I2 in his basket, he has taken these 2 items, what's the probability that he would take some other element? So we have this I1 and I2, and we can tell that he would be purchasing or he would be getting I5 along with it. So now if we can tell this, it is easy for us to determine that. Let's say that I just gave you example of YouTube videos. For example, a person has seen a YouTube video 1. So you can, based on this calculation, tell that what is the next video he would like. And it's very interesting for you people. As an exercise, I would give you some recommender system to build. So first try to understand this lecture and then we will move to the assignment. Hidden variables. The rule X implies Y need not imply causality but just an association. In a problem, there may also be hidden variables whose values are never known through evidence. If you can get this knowledge somehow, you would better be able to build a recommender system. The advantage of using hidden variables is that the dependency structure can be more easily defined. How the hidden variables could be identified, that based on your analysis. As a programmer, as an analyst, you have to consider those things. For now, it's enough for today. I hope you were able to understand this lecture. So Allah Hafiz and see you next time in next lecture.